Welcome viewers, and we're here at the illustrious Raywood Footy Ground. Now Raywood is basically halfway between Bendigo and the mighty Miniamo, the home of the illustrious Ken Sheldon, St Kilda coach and Carlton legend. Now the rationale and reason we're here today is simple. We're here to acknowledge one of the true grassroots greats in Tony Bluey Southcombe. Thanks for having us, Bluey, and we look forward to having a good chat.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Sean. I'm delighted to be here.
Great. So, what I thought I'd start with, Bluey, is we might as well peel back the onion and go right back to the start, okay? Obviously born in Bendigo, would that be correct?
Yeah, we grew up in Bendigo, never left. I had about 6 weeks in Melbourne at one stage, but other than that, 100% of my whole life has been Bendigo.
You know, your name is synonymous with football here in Bendigo, but as I said, we'll go right back to the start. Tell us a little bit about your formative years growing up. Were you passionate about football from day one, even before you maybe started playing?
Yeah, I love football, and not that you see much of it these days, but there was 3 or 4 of my good friends, Terry Wells, Mick Whalen, and a few of those guys that lived very close to us, and we had a little paddock across the creek from home, and we spent every weekend in that paddock after school nearly every night with a plastic football, making teams up and having a real competitive game of football probably 3 or 4 times a week. And that's where it all started from, you know. I think that was a good grounding for us. It kept us off the streets, kept us out of trouble, and believe it or not, Terry Wells and Mick Whalen are still 2 of my best friends after 60 odd years.
True, you went to the Marist College?
Went to Marist Brothers College, played in the under-14 grand final, and in that side was Kevin Higgins, Jeff Southby, Brian Walsh, 3 or 4, and myself, that all played a little bit, well, they played a lot more league football than I did, but yeah, so out of that side, and believe it or not, Golden Square beat us that day, and that was the end of my football career for 5 years, because as we're driving home, Dad said, "How do you think you went?" And I said, "I thought I went fairly ordinary." And he said, "I agree." He said, "I think you better find another sport." And at that time, I'd started to dip my toe into basketball, so I concentrated on basketball then till I was 19, till I started playing footy again.
And then Golden Square had an enormous coup, because at that time, obviously, you became very good friends with one of your teammates that you're playing basketball with, and this man needs no introduction, by the name of Ron Best. And tell us the story from there and how you got into Square.
Yeah, Ron eventually married my sister, and he was my brother-in-law, and I used to go and watch Ron play regularly and become interested in Golden Square. I always barracked for Golden Square because the old man played football at Golden Square, and I just happened to pass through Mark one day. I said, "Oh, geez, if I couldn't get a game in those seconds, there's something wrong." And he said, "Well, why don't you have a game?" So Ivan O'Donnell, who was the league secretary at the time, backdated my registration form, and it was in July or August, and he backdated it so I could play the last 6 or 7 games that year. So I played 2 or 3 in the seconds, 3 or 4 in the seniors, and I missed the finals because of I did my ankle and did it really badly, so I missed out on the finals. But anyway, that was the start of my footy career.
Yep, so that would have been around, what, 68, I'd say?
68, 69, yeah.
So 69, we started to see what, you know, has been known and is acknowledged now as probably one of the greatest dual forward lines ever seen in country football in Victoria. Obviously, you playing centre half forward and your great mate Ron at full forward. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I had the task of playing centre half forward, which was very good, but I used to play a fair bit of ruck those days and change at centre half forward. So at Bestie being up full forward made it very easy for us, because all we had to do was really kick it up there. It didn't matter how it got up there. As long as it got up there, you know that you were guaranteed that he was going to kick 6 or 7 every week anyway. You always 6 or 7 goals up before you started.
Yep. So I'll paint a bit of a picture here. Like, if there's a halcyon time for Bendigo football, it's probably around these times. Crowds were still enormous, and the reality is we don't like judging and comparing eras, but would it be a fair call to suggest that the standard was pretty high for country footy?
I think it was very good. You know, out of one grand final, I think it was 1970 grand final. Bestie was up one end of the ground and Greg Kennedy was up the other end, and Greg went on to, and they both kicked 12 that day. And Greg went on to play about 70 or 80 games with Carlton before he got injured, and kicked 60 or 70 goals in the VFL as it was then. Best he should have gone to Melbourne. Was inclined to be a little bit lazy. I think he went to Geelong and played in a practice match, kicked 8 goals one day, and they begged of him to come back. But the Ron Best we know always found it easily to be able to get a nice dollar in country football rather than move to Melbourne.
I understand. So you played at Square obviously in 79, 70, 71 and then 72. Gee whiz. First year of the Sunbury Pop Festival, it wasn't the only thing rocking. You had a stellar year that year. Obviously, vice captain by that stage, and from my research, I would suggest that you got 33 votes in the Mickelson Medal, which at that time was a record. Correct?
Well, I was I think so, yeah. Pretty lucky because it was a drought year and no rain, glasses on, so it was pretty good, and I hit a purple patch of form that year, being able to get a lot of consistency into my football. I believe I struggled in 1971 a bit. I think you come out and you sort of get going a little bit, and then all of a sudden you don't train as hard and you don't prepare yourself properly. And I did. I had an off season, and so I got myself really fit again in 72 and reaped the rewards.
Very good.
I don't want to talk about 73 because I went back to my old habits.
So 72, the mighty Bulldogs won the flag that year as well, correct?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Golden Square. Yeah, that was my first premiership with Golden Square, and enormous club, enormous football club, and I've got a hell of a lot to thank the Golden Square Football Club. First of all, Bill Bonney, my first coach. A lot of respect for Bill. Great man, great leader. Very, very hard on us, which we needed because we're all young kids and we needed to get our butts kicked every now and then. And when I went on coaching football, I put a lot of what Bill taught me into the processes, and I'm sure a lot of my success is because of the thanks to Bill Bonney.
Very good. Now, interspersed in that, now obviously we've had interleague football, etc., but back in those days we had the thing called the Celtics Championships. Would that be a fair call?
That's right. Yep.
So, from painting a picture here, we had a pretty meteoric rise because the reality was you hadn't played any senior football coming into late 68, 69, and before long you were a stalwart of the Bendigo Football Interleague, the Celtics. Explain some of your experience with that, and did you enjoy it, and did you find it a real privilege and honour to play in those type of games?
It was an honour, and we won in 72. Well, we had a darn good side because we had Keith Rayner, we had Ron Ocketell from Castlemaine, we had Bestie, we had Peter Maroney, Mike Hammond. It was just, and then Neil Cordy, and then a lot of Golden Square people, but an endless quality of talent right through the whole side. We weren't supposed to win. We played the Ovens of Murray on the QA one day against the Big Boom side, which in those days they had a lot of ex-VFL players, and we weren't supposed to beat them. And anyway, we got up and beat them, and there was great excitement. I remember going back to the Shamrock, and it was like winning a grand final that game. And we went on and we won it. It was up at Cobram, I think.
The Murray League.
Yeah, yep. It was the Murray League, yeah.
So, obviously, you'd only been playing footy for about 6 full competitive seasons, Bluey, and we jump to 75 now, and all of a sudden you become captain coach of the illustrious Bulldogs.
It's once again I talk about Bill Bonney in glowing terms. I was running around the ground at Golden Square one Thursday night, and he called me in. I thought, oh God, what have I done here? And he said, I want you to coach Golden Square. And I said, well, Bill, I don't know whether I can. He said, you are the man to do it. I want you to do it. And I said, I'll have a talk to you later. So I had a talk to him later on. And he said, I really want you to do it. There's nobody else around the club at the moment. I think you can do it. I was a bit of a party boy, liked to drink now and then, and I wasn't really sure how it was going to come across. But anyway, I put in for it, got it, and got $15 a week, which I was very pleased because I was only getting, I think it was 4 to play, so which was a massive rise. And I've got to thank George Simons, who had the confidence in me too. He was president at the time. So he was very, very, very good president, and he had confidence in me. And he said one thing to me, you've got the job, we haven't been out of the 4 for 15 or 20 years or something, and I expect that we're going to play finals next year. I said, yes, George, I'm hoping so. Anyway, we're lucky enough to win it, which was very, very satisfying, very satisfying.
So just winding back a little bit, so in 75 and 6 you were captain coach, and in both those years the club got the chocolates. That's correct, isn't it?
That's right, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Look, you've got to, people say, oh yeah, the coach did this and the coach did that. The coach is only a spokesman for the people. You've got to have the group behind you. And in all my coaching days, I've been very, very lucky that I reckon 95% of the players that I've inherited or recruited have all given me 100%. And I think that's why I've been lucky enough to have success.
Yep, very good, very good. So you coached 75, 76. The landscape of footy was so much different back then. Obviously, we had zones, and obviously Carlton zone was with Bendigo, and there'd been a plethora of players that had gone down there, whether it be for 1 or 2 games or become established stars in the competition of the VFL. I know that there'd been a lot of pressure in years past for you to go down there, but 77, you finally bit the bullet and decided to have a crack?
I got a little bit, not bored with football. I'm a person that likes challenges, and I suppose that's why I coach, because, you know, coaching is a challenge. And I sat down at the end of 76 and well, I don't want to go through life not thinking, well, I might have made the VFL, I might not have made the VFL. I thought, well, bugger it, have a crack. So immediately, or a month after we stopped celebrating the 1976 grand final, off the grog, off the food, on the track. And got going and got really, really, really fit. And in those days, the zone was there, and I think they probably thought, well, this guy's 26, coming up 27, they're probably not going to look at him. So I actually rang them up and I said, look, I'm interested in having a practice match. They said, are you fit? I said, well, I can come down and do a fitness test for you. And they said, yeah, if you would, that'd be good. So I come down, and they got a bit of a shock because out of the whole group, I come third.
Yep.
I was third fittest. And so that gave me a bit of a shock. Played one practice match out on the Icon Park.
Princess Hill?
Yeah, I remember Trevor Keogh coming up to me after the game. He said, you make sure you come back next week. And I said, I'll be back. Anyway, eventually signed and played the first 13 games, and then, I don't know, I had a brain phase or something and finished up walking out.
Now what happened there, Bluey? Because for the people that weren't born and bred in Victoria, World of Sport was a landmark show that generally run on a Sunday, and it was the only real bit of footy nourishment that people got in the media. From 12 to 3 o'clock, and the reality is from April until September, it was premiership football, and they had the illustrious World of Sport award.
That's right.
Now, you played 11 games, kicked 13 goals, and by round 11, you were actually leading the World of Sport award. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And then 1 minute, and the reason I know this, I wasn't born and bred in Bendigo, but you were entrenched in everyone's noggin, and we'll get onto this as well, because you had a point of difference. You had the Buddy Hollies, the big Coke bottle glasses, black, and every kid and everyone stood out. But we were all in awe of this bloke, and you're becoming a cult hero, a cult figure, and winning the World of Sport award. It seemed you had the world at the feet, but the next week you were gone.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether I was fit into the group, whether I wasn't really enjoying my football as much as I should have been. In hindsight, obviously I should have stayed. I should have pulled my head in and grown up and accepted what was going on. But yeah, there was just a few issues that I believe. But I thought Ian Thorogood was a very, very good coach, but I didn't think he was getting the support. And I was a fair bit more mature than a lot of the other players, and it used to annoy the daylights out of me. And yeah, and especially 3 or 4 of the players they recruited in on probably sizable money, and I didn't think they were being fair to him either. So I thought, I might as well get out of here. I just thought I was wasting my time a bit.
So you journeyed back to Wade Street, that being the home of the Golden Square Footy Club, and you played there for the rest of 77, 78, and surprise, surprise, another flag in 79, correct?
Yeah, possibly. I haven't got a list of the players, but I think that the 79 grand final side was probably the best Golden Square side that I've seen, you know, because I know Bestie and I flew to Tasmania, and we flew over one weekend to have a weekend with Eric Pascoe because we heard he was coming back to Bendigo, and we try and get him to Golden Square. We get over there, we get off the plane, shook our hand. He says, "Great to see you boys. We're going to have a good weekend, but we're not talking football." Oh, this is lovely. We get back on the plane. We haven't got a clue what we're doing. Anyway, he arrived in Bendigo about 2 or 3 weeks later, and he said, "You blokes are mad." He said, "I've been your friend for years and years. You know I was always going to play at Golden Square." So that was a big in for us. And I think he would come equal in the middle that year too, Eric.
So just a bit of a snapshot. Can you just give us, throw a few names up as about some of those mighty players from that Square era that you played with?
Oh, look, there's a hell of a lot. You can't go past Bestie as probably being number one, but number two is very close between Moroney, Mountjoy, O'Connell, Shane Rodder, Peter Davey. Who else do we have? Oh, well, even we got Chuka Cordy from Kyneton. Like him and I didn't get on when he played for Kyneton, but he was a very good player for Golden Square. Greg Williams. You just reminded me, Greg Williams.
Paint the picture of Greg Williams now. Obviously, I think everyone in football in Australia know about Greg Williams, the mighty Swans, Carlton and Geelong recruit, and he's a born and bred Square boy. Wasn't backward in coming forward. Would that be a fair call?
No, and very confident in his own ability and knew what he wanted to do, knew where he wanted to go in life, and has achieved. And congratulations to him. Great fella. Believed in his own ability, and still says in 1980 I coached because nobody else wanted to coach. So I was going to leave and coach up the bush, and nobody else wanted to coach. Well, they couldn't get a coach, so I said, "I'll give you one last year." 1980. I played Greg off the bench, and I brought him on, and he still tells me to this day, if I had brought him on a quarter earlier, we would have won the grand final.
Yeah, and I think he went on the year after as probably a 17-year-old to win the Mickelson Medal. Would that be correct? Yeah. I think he won the year after that as well.
I think
just
he did
quietly.
too. Yeah, he's a great player.
So we played in 79, we played in 80, and you mightn't want to go into this too much, but you were universally known in the Bendigo Footy League, atmosphere as Golden Square through and through, and it sent a few shock waves through the community when all of a sudden it was all over at Square.
Walking in at 19 and probably come to an age of 30, and I thought I'd been really loyal and hadn't made any money, and I think it's time to try and make some money. And I got an offer. Well, my employer at the time was Elders, and the big part of their business for Bendigo Elders was Boort. My boss sat me down and he said, "I'd like you to go and coach Boort because they can't win a grand final. They haven't won one for 28 years. And I said, "Oh yeah, I'll think about it." So I spoke to them. They were passionate about it. They were good people, as most people are in football clubs. And I eventually decided, I said, "I'll give you 2 years. 2 years." And first year, we should have won. But I knew we wouldn't lose the second year because it was a learning process for everybody. It was a learning process for the players, the committee, the whole football club and the town. And there's no doubt that we were always going to win the next year, which we truly did.
With nearly 30 minutes gone, 29 minutes gone, she's all over, and there's a siren. 1982 grand final flag. And Premiership Cup goes to the black and white Magpies. That's Boort. It's only the second premiership in the North Central League. Just move a bit closer here.
Oh, geez.
What's it feel like, Tony?
Bloody fantastic, Frankie. Bloody beautiful, yeah.
Well, I reckon it's great. Just looking on it. Congratulations, Tony. You've done a great job to get the boys up there. A bit disappointing last year, but it's all worth it this year, isn't it?
Oh, it's been tremendous, Frank. I think that it's not only me. I've got to pay tribute to the whole club, from Porridge right down, and that's who I really feel pleased for at the moment. Those guys that haven't had success for a long time, it's bloody tremendous, They really deserve it. Bloody
That's good, Blue. We know you're humble, but I reckon you can take majority of the credit there. And congratulations, Blue, on a great win.
I'll tell you what, Frankie, the boys never bloody reneged on one bit of training or anything like that, and now I tell you what, it's been worth, hasn't it?
You just didn't win either, Blue. 88 points. Pretty happy with that?
Pretty handy, yeah, Frank, all right.
Could be a record, mate.
I don't know whether it's a record or not, it was all right, though.
Yeah. Righto. Thanks, Tony.
So for those that don't know, North Central Football League, probably the next major league up from Bendigo, and incorporated sides like Donaldson, Arnott, Witchy-Proof, Charlton, etc. So we coached the 2 years out at Boort, and obviously having ultimate success. And one could think that at your age you might have been looking to maybe pull stumps or just kick back a little bit with footy, but the next part of your journey was probably another exciting one, which is etched in the history of Bendigo football, and it incorporates the place we're at today, the mighty Raywood Football Ground, home of the Swallows Northern United Football Club. Before we start talking about those stellar days, Bluey, can you please explain how Northern United ended up in the Bendigo Football League, because they weren't a foundation member?
No, Bendigo and Golden Steed League, we had two leagues in Bendigo, in the Bendigo area, and they were both struggling a bit. So the hierarchy decided to amalgamate some sides, or what they thought were the better sides. But anyway, so I had some friends at North United, and that came and saw me, and I said, well, there's no guarantee that you're going to get into the competition, but I'll coach you if you get in the competition. If you don't get in the competition, I'll coach South Bendigo. So, which I kept my word. So as soon as Northern United got in there, I was coach of Northern United. Once again, inherited some very, very, very good players. Gerard Geary, one of the best country footballers you'd see, Leo Demio, Trevor Ludeman, Dave Ludeman. And then I went on a recruiting campaign. There was a young fellow that still got the utmost respect for coming to Bendigo called Darren Trickey. He was an amazing player, Tricky. Ian Marlowe from Mediamo should have come to Bendigo 10 years earlier and didn't, but he did come down eventually. Then we got a couple of young blokes, Leon Holt from Wedderburn. Anyway, we went on a recruiting campaign, and I think it was third. We finished third the first year.
You know, which is an enormous effort, because as we said, Bendigo footy was still in a pretty good shape at that stage. So that was 83, and whack-ho, what happened after that?
Well, sat down at the end of the year and thought we need 2 or 3 more players.
The mighty Swallows, Northern United.
And one position we desperately needed was a fullback. And I played against and got cleaned up by a fellow called Peter Fife one day at Golden Street. I thought a truck had hit me, but it was only Fifey. But anyway, I went around to see Fifey, who'd retired from Castlemaine, and I spent a couple of hours with him. And at the end of the night, I didn't talk footy with him, but at the end of the night, as we're leaving, I said, now, you interested in playing? No, I'm not playing at all. I said, oh, that's all right, not a problem. No pressure, because he was 32 or 33 at the time. So when I get to the door, I said, I'll tell you something, I'll leave it with you. If we can recruit you next year, we'll win the grand final. And he goes, will you? I said, yeah, if you play, we'll win the grand final. But anyway, I said, oh, look, I'll talk to you another day anyway. Anyway, a couple of days later, phone goes. You think we can win the grand final if I play? I said, I certainly do. Anyway, he played that year, we won the grand final. He played the next year, we won the grand final. And he did his hamstring on the Thursday night before the grand final for the 3 in a row.
3 in a row. So, to put this into context then, so 83 Northern United bounced into the Bendigo Football League, finished third in their first year, 84 Premiership, 85 Premiership, 86 Premiership. You coached the 3 of them.
Yep.
Teamed up with an illustrious old full forward with you in that era as well, I suggest.
Bestie?
Yep.
Yeah, Bestie come across. Yeah. Oh, Bestie had a bit of a stint at Boort. He had 1 year at Boort with me too. Kicked 6 or 7 in the grand final. Then he wasn't going to play either, but talked him into playing at Northern United, so he kicked 11 in his last game of football in a grand final, which was a great effort. Yeah, look, fantastic memories. And I remember going to see Kevin Sheedy. I used to go and see an AFL coach every year, and he said, what are the facilities like? I said, they're terrible, probably the worst in the Bendigo League. He said, as long as you've got good lights and good footballs, he said, you can make good football sides. He said, don't worry about that. Let them get changed behind the tree or in a tent or whatever. And I was only talking to him the other day in Bendigo. I ran into him and I was telling him that story, and he said, I don't remember, but I said, well, you were very good to me because he let me come down every year for 4 or 5 years and go through coaching programs with him, you know. Yeah, and he was right, you know. All you need is good footballs and good lights.
So you coached a trifecta of flags, and obviously you kept playing after you finished coaching Northern United at Northern United, and blow me down.
Yeah, I got the flick. We'd won the grand final, we celebrated, and I just wanted a little bit of quality time away from football for a while. I was a bit worn out and a bit jaded. And the club come to me and said, what do you want to do? I said, can you just give me a week or so just to get my head around it and see whether I want to do it? We had a side, I'd spoken to all the players. We weren't going to lose anybody, so it was there to be had. Anyway, I read in the paper about a week later that Brendan Mason had been appointed, and that was fine. It didn't worry me. And the good part about it, I had a meeting with Mason, and he was a good man, and did a good job. And but he got me going because he said, "You won't get a game. You're too old. You won't get a game." And I thought, "Oh well, we'll just see what happens." So I get out, and I got a lot fitter than I'd ever been. And I was lucky enough there was a few injuries in the finals, and I was first ruck for the grand final on our 4 in a row.
Had some good sides, couldn't win a flag with them. Dalesford, East Ballarat, but today with Northern United, possibly one of the best sides we've seen in Bendigo football in many, many, many years. He steered them to a flag, and what a terrific win it is. There's a great shot of the jubilations out on the centre area of the Queen Elizabeth Oval at the present time. The winning margin, 62 points.
Blue, didn't know you back then. I was only a pup when I moved to Bendigo to go to uni. I was only 17, 18, but I can vividly remember seeing you with one of your stalwarts in a runner consistently just pounding the pavement. Obviously, fitness was big in that era, but I think that you did indeed take it to another level. Would that be a fair call?
Well, I think, you know, a lot of people are all possessed with a certain amount of ability, and if you want to give yourself the utmost chance of playing to the best of your ability, I think you've got to get off your butt and have a crack on the track. And probably every four days out of 7, I used to run 10Ks a week, and I would train Tuesday, train Thursday, and do a massive rehab on a Sunday morning. So, you know, fitness was a big thing for me. A very big thing for me.
And at that stage, you obviously were going into your next part of your working career, and you were starting to go into the pub trade. That fair?
Yeah, that knocked my fitness around a bit.
Yeah, so you during their Northern United times, you had the old Newmarket Hotel, obviously. That's up right. Where the old sale yards were in East Bendigo.
That's right. Yeah.
And obviously, there's been other pubs throughout the journey, to the extent now where you've got the illustrious old Golden Square Hotel, which was once named the Billy Rodder Hotel.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the end of that 4-peat, those special 4 premiership flags, and that was the end of it at Northern United. Would that be a fair call?
Yeah, look, there was a change of administration. I personally believe that the club needed to come to Bendigo, but there was personnel at Raywood that believed it should stay at Raywood. I'd already organised with a gentleman called Evan Trevorrow, who was involved with Kennington Football Club, to go to Kennington, call it Kennington United, and have the odd game out here at the ground. We weren't going to cut the ties completely. Anyway, we had a meeting in the club rooms here, and we got outvoted. And so, most footy clubs, while you've got a good, strong committee and you've got the right people there and the right people managing it, things go all right, but they can go terribly wrong very quickly if you haven't got the right people, you know.
Yeah, very, very sad, because, you know, they were the all people in country Victoria were in awe of Northern United, and obviously you played here at Raywood. Can you explain the other places? Because it was, you know, as the name suggests, it was Northern United, so you'd obviously play games where at
Camarooka. Reason being was simple. The Camarooka footy ground is the same size as the QEO.
Yep.
And that gave us, we tried to play our last 6 games every year at Camarooka, because allowed us to try and get a game style going for the Curio when we hit the Curio in Bendigo. It took the Bendigo League 4 or 5 years to wake up to that. They eventually said, right, you're only playing at Raywood, no Cavaruca.
You know, and you know, you touch on that committee meeting, but I think it would be fair to suggest that if the cards were turned and the vote went that way, that Northern United would probably still be established in the Bendigo Football League now.
Well, we have a look at now. South Bendigo's gone from the QA to Kennington, and why would you want to go to Kennington? I can tell you why you want to go to Kennington. You got La Trobe Uni up the road. You got countless primary schools. You got a secondary school, and you had an infrastructure. You had everything. There was going to be seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, and whatever coming through. It was a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And unfortunately, that was the end of the footy club. You know.
Yeah, very, very sad.
Yeah.
Well, it did go on for another year or two, didn't it?
Yeah,
it was a shell of its former self, and it became defunct, sadly.
I think I was the last standing coach when we got flogged every week, and there was nothing there. It was all dead. All the players had gone. Nobody wanted to play. There was no interest. They didn't want to train. It was just, it was in turmoil.
Yeah. Mm. So your footy journey didn't finish there. I think you had a bit of a sabbatical for a couple of years. Would that be a fair call?
Oh, yeah. I thought that's it. So till I was sitting outside home, out the backyard in the sun, drinking a cup of coffee and reading the Sunday paper, which I normally do, and around walks Trout Fleedner, Billy Longford, and Doug Cale, all friends of mine that were involved with the Elmore Footy Club, and they hadn't won a grand final for 25 years. And I thought, oh my God, look out. Anyway, I succumbed to the pressure, and I said, right, you got 2 years, and first year we got beaten through stupidity of a few players carrying on. Anyway, that was history, but the next year we've well and truly fixed it up. We won by 99 points.
99 points. So, you know, it's like your kids, every flag's special, but, you know, you were probably involved in 3 unique ones, really, like nearly drought busters when you talk about the Boort one, when you talk about Northern United, never won a flag in the Bendigo Footy League, and obviously Elmore for so long, not winning a flag.
I think that the Golden Square ones still hold special place with me because, excuse me, that's where I grew up, really.
Yeah.
You know, walking in at 19 and walking out at 30. A lot of my friends these days are still Golden Square people.
Yep.
So Golden Square holds a special spot for me. But then the one at Northern United, the first one at Northern United, Boort and Elmore were all very satisfying because to see the joy on the faces of people that haven't won a grand final for so long, it's just, it's fantastic. Mm.
Yeah, and, you know, like obviously, and I don't want to poke the bear here, but you had an estranged relationship with Golden Square for probably a good decade and a half, two decades, but it was great to see you back in the file when we had the Hall of Fame night, and I know that you were thrilled about that, and it was great to see you back at the club, and I hope that you enjoyed that night and you do feel welcome back at the Wade Street precinct.
Look, there was a little bit of, sometimes I'm a bit pig-headed, and I thought for what I'd done, or what Golden Square had done for me and I'd done for them, I thought, and normally when you play 200 games, you automatically get a life membership. And I played 210 games when I left, and there was people around the committee that decided to stuff him. He's not getting his life membership. Well, in hindsight, it made my decision easy to go to Northern United because, you know, if they had been nicer, maybe I might have gone back to Golden Square. Who knows? You know, it's all history now anyway, and life goes on. So, but anyway, that's the way it was. Mm.
Now, you're still behind the jump. You've still got the illustrious, I'm going to keep saying Billy Rodder. It's a Golden Square hotel.
Billy Rodder,
footy these days, Bluey. Do you go and watch a Bendigo footy? Do you go and watch Melbourne footy? What do you think of footy these days?
I go down to one game every year in Melbourne because I get taken by a friend and he takes me to the MCG members and I eat a lot of nice food and drink a fair bit of beer and have a wonderful night or day. Bendigo League footy, I think the last 3 years I've probably seen 2 or 3 games. We have a Ron Best Memorial Day. To be honest, last year I was at the game, but I didn't see a kick.
Yep.
I was in the rooms all day talking to people and having a wonderful day with people I was involved with in football, you know. So I suppose that's the lovely side of football clubs, is being able to get back and get together and whatever. So, yeah.
Well, Bluey, it's been a stellar career, and as I said, we've had a snapshot of it today, and we could probably talk for a lot longer about it, but just on behalf of the organisation, we'd like to thank you. And Bluey Southcombe, you certainly are a grassroots great. Congratulations.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Wacko the diddly-o. Goodbye.